Hello and welcome to video related to calculated columns. As I mentioned in previous videos, there are two ways through which you can use DAX functions, calculated columns and calculated measures. Now, in this video, we will look at what are calculated columns, when these are to be used, what is the best alternative to calculated columns. So let us start with simple things first. Now, calculated columns will insert a new column to your existing table in your data models. These are pre-calculated and stored inside your table, so it will increase your file size. Values inside a column will not change based on the visuals in which you are using it. It will change only if the source data or a column which you are referring to will change, then only calculated columns values are changed. These are ideally to be used when the expected output is text, and thus it will be used as slicers or filters or in excess areas of your visuals. This will behave like a dimension field in your datasets. Value calculated inside calculated columns can't be divided. Rather, the resulted values will be used to divide the other values. Number of DAX functions that can be used inside calculated columns are very limited, and hence I would highly recommend you to use Power BI Query Editor for inserting any new columns instead of using this approach of calculated columns of using DAX. So with that, let us have a live example in Power BI desktops, since it will give you more clarity about this calculated columns. So now we will start with our sales table here, and we would like to determine profit for each of the orders. So let us scroll little on the right hand side, and here we have two columns, sales amount column and total product cost column. So profit can be determined by deducting the cost, tax amount and freight amount from the sales amount itself. So using the syntax which we have learnt in previous video, we will now calculate the profit. For the time being, we will just use sales amount and total product cost amount columns only. So to insert a new column, you can use the buttons which are available under Home tab, New Measure, New Column or New Quick Measure, or also these options are also available under Modeling tab. So let me click this New Column now. So once you click on this, a new formula bar becomes active over here, and you can now enter your DAX formula. Since we are performing a simple calculation to determine profit, we would simply subtract this total product cost from the sales amount. So if you recall the syntax in calculated columns, we can directly refer to a column without any table names prefixed to it, but we will still prefix the table name as a best practice. We will not prefix the table name only if we are referring to measures. So following this practice will help us identify which are the calculated columns and measures or columns from the tables. So let us get started. Let us type profit equal to, so now it will be F underscore sales. Let us scroll and see where the sales amount is there. So this is sales amount, and now press tab, it will get inserted, minus sign, and let us start with the cost only, and we can see that total product cost is coming there. So press tab and it will get inserted there. So now press enter. So let us scroll little right side. So once you are done with your DAX formula, simply press enter and a new column will be added to your table. It will show up in a column list also over here in this particular table with a separate icon been prefixed to it. So this will help you identify which are calculated columns in your tables. Now let us understand little more important aspects about calculated columns. The expression assigned to a calculated columns is evaluated for every row in this particular table, and each row it will be calculated separately. Any reference to a column returns the value for a column in the current row itself. So for calculating the profit in this row, it will take the value of a column from this sales amount for the corresponding row, which is 4.99 minus 1.8663 from the same row itself. So this will be done for all of the rows individually one by one for calculated columns. The final result is stored in current row of the table like any other column values like here. Now, refreshing a table content produces the evaluation of all the calculated columns for all the rows of table, regardless of the portion of the modified table. So if you are modifying details in the source data only in particular columns, so these values will be evaluated one more time. So all calculated columns occupies a space in a table memory and it increases the file size. Next is the name of the calculated columns has to be unique in that particular table. But you can have the columns with the same name in different tables, which will also help you to build up relationships sometimes. Now, determining a profit through calculated columns worked in our scenarios because each of the order line is on a separate row with only one order quantity. So here you can see that each of the order is having only one quantity. So if structure of your sales table is little different, so this may not work. Also, the calculated column should not be used to perform any kind of a mathematical operations or aggregations. So currently, if you see, we are subtracting the values of sales amount and total product cost. So this is kind of mathematical operations. So ideally, you should not use to perform this kind of a mathematical operations for calculated columns. You should insert calculated columns if the results in those individual cells will be used as a dimensions or filters or a slices in visuals. Even in such instances, I would highly recommend you to use Power BI Query Editor as it gives you more flexibility and wide variety of options as compared to DAX functions. So let us take a look at one more scenario where calculated columns are ideal field. So let us go to customers table here. And now here you can see we have a column which is called as Marshall status. So it displays only S or M. So which means single or married. So instead of displaying only a single alphabet, we want to display the full details over here. So you can convert that using if functions. So let us insert one more column now. So let us go to modeling tab and click on new columns. Formula bar will get activated. So let us start inserting a formula now. Marshall status updated equal. So now let us start with if function. Press tab and let us start with Marshall status. Where are we getting this? This is Marshall status is equal to S. Then show me single, else check one more time whether it is equal to M. Then show me married, else it will be not disclosed. Close brackets, close brackets. Now press enter. So immediately you can see that a new column will get inserted to your tables on the right hand side. Now in this scenario, if you see our input columns was having text and even output column is having text. So this is an ideal fit for calculated columns since we are not performing any mathematical operations, and even in visuals if we are using this column, there won't be any mathematical operations or aggregations will be performed other than the count. So this will be used in slicers or filters or access areas of your visuals. So this is ideal fit for calculated columns. So with that, let us recap what we have seen in this video for calculated columns. Calculated columns will insert a new column in a table and thus it will increase your file size. It evaluates based on the values in the current row and performs it for each row in the table. It should be used only when the input and output values are expected to be a text. And maybe query editor should be preferred to create these kind of a new columns instead of using DAX functions, because you have a limited options to use DAX functions in calculated columns. And finally, value of a calculated column will change only if the original column value changes. So I hope you have a clear idea about calculated columns now. In next video, we will see about calculated measures. So see you guys in next video.